This is The Clash, where the real world clashes with a true Christian worldview. Join former professional wrestler Chris Whaley, known as the Masked Saint, who is an author, pastor, and teacher that brings his wrestling skills into the squared circle and tackles real-life issues. Along with Jeff Dixon, best-selling author, internationally known teacher, leader, and pastor who is not afraid to tackle the tough issues of the world we live in. Together they form a tag team of wisdom in The Clash.
Hi, welcome to The Clash, where we take a Christian worldview and allow it to clash into the culture that we live in. My name is Jeff Dixon. I'm joined by
Chris Whaley.
And we are once again here to be as your host, tour guides, and just, captains of fun.
Right.
For the next 30 minutes. How about that?
I like that. Captains of fun.
What should we talk about today?
Here's a good subject. How about heroes?
Heroes?
Yeah.
Heroes is a good subject,
Yeah,
especially in the world we live in.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have heroes?
Absolutely.
I have them as well. I would imagine that most of our audience has a hero along the way. Are your heroes real or imaginary?
Oh, no, they're real.
Okay. Well, I've got some real ones, and I've also got some fictional ones I've looked to emulate as well. So between all of us, we'll come up with some things to talk about.
I'm sure we will.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about heroes. And so this is the hero episode here on The Clash, and we'll be back right after this break.
I love hearing from our listeners. I have a website called themaskedsaint.com, and I get people telling me things about the old wrestling days. I love to hear from them. I'm on Facebook, I'm on X, I'm on Instagram, and I just never get tired of listening to people. And if you have not read The Masked Saint, I have that available on my website. I have the Christmas book, Harold's Heavenly Christmas. I have the last book that I wrote with a wrestling buddy called Mr. President. Pictures whenever I was still in good shape. I have those available along with t-shirts, anything, but most of all, just love to hear from you.
Hi, welcome back. We're talking about heroes because, this is the hero episode.
Right.
So that's good. That's a good thing to talk about, yes. Right up front, I guess we probably need to define what we're talking about, though. So what is a hero?
Yeah, Jeff, when I knew we were going to do this episode, I texted several people, and I said, hey, we're doing a show on heroes. What is your definition of a hero? And tell me who your heroes are. And I did that with about 5 people. 3 of them answered me. Okay. I don't know. Is that pretty good response?
That's pretty good. You didn't text me.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't, because I knew you would be.
You know I'd be here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I knew you'd be here. Yeah. So, I got some interesting answers, and if I kind of summarize them, it would be like this. To be heroic is to shine with actions and thoughts that are great and good. A true hero is more than just someone who does one brave thing. They shine bright with a commitment to help others, even if it's tough for them. Okay. So I like that definition.
Okay, so you texted some smart people.
I did. Okay. I did. 2 of them were my daughters.
Even better. Okay, I was going to say, do you need to give them credit while we... Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So to Chris's daughters, we say thank you for that information. That helps us out a lot.
But they were the 2 that didn't answer.
And girls, for ignoring your father, you got to cut that out. What are you guys doing? Whole different episode. That's a parenting episode, right? That'll be a parenting episode.
There you go.
All right. So based on that definition then, okay, let me ask you then. I mean, are heroes, at least and this is just our opinions, but are heroes important then for people like you and me and anybody else in the world today?
I think so. I think you got to have some heroes. I'm one of those people that I always try to have a light in the tunnel, hoping it's not a bullet train coming towards me. But the same thing with heroes. I think the world wants heroes. I think that's why those movies, like Equalizer, are so popular, and other movies that I can't name off the top of my my head, where you got this one guy that or girl who's helping people, putting their life on the line, doing things like that. Those are the ones that people want to see, and I think there's a good reason behind that, because everybody wants a hero.
Well, I mean, I think too, in any great story, though, right? I mean, there's a hero. There tends to be a villain somewhere in it. I mean, I know that for me, when I like to go to movies too, I mean, I love the superhero movies. I mean, I like the DC characters, the Marvel characters, for the most part. I mean, sometimes the storylines get wonky, so I like that. I grew up with the heroes that I watched as a kid. But then, as I got older, I also recognized that there are some real life heroes. So you've got your imaginary heroes that have those characteristics we like, but then the real life heroes as well.
Right.
And I think that sometimes, at least my take on the culture, is sometimes it's harder, it seems, to find those people worth emulating, those people worth modeling after.
Yeah.
They're out there.
Yeah.
They're out there. But sometimes I think their heroic acts and their heroism gets gobbled up or doesn't get the good press because it doesn't, it's not sensational enough.
Right.
So what kind of characteristics make up a hero?
Well, I think one of the big ones would be courage.
Okay.
You definitely got to have courage. A selflessness.
Selflessness. Okay.
Selflessness, that is putting others before yourself.
And that's unusual in our culture today.
Boy, it's very unusual in our culture. Resilience.
Okay.
Overcoming adversity in heroic ways. That's just three of them. Empathy, that is understanding, connecting with others. I think integrity would be another one. That is the moral compass of a hero.
Sure.
And then also inspiration. How heroes motivate and influence others. I don't know. Those are just some. You got more than that?
Yeah, well, I would add an element to it. Of course, you know this one's coming. An element of faith to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think and you tapped into it though with the moral compass, right? So for us, we're old preacher types, and so the need for men, women of faith to step into those heroic roles, I think really does matter. I like that faith-based, foundation for a hero.
Right.
Because it doesn't mean they're going to be perfect, but it means that they actually are trying to do what they're doing for a bigger cause. It's the purpose of that.
Who's your heroes in the Bible?
That's a good question. But before I answer it, I want to point out to our audience. Of course, you guys already know this because, well, if you watch this show, you're a lot smarter than other people. Just saying. But if the one thing I notice about the heroes of faith in the Bible is that they're all tragically flawed.
Yeah.
I mean, other than Jesus, who was perfect.
Right. He's the perfect hero.
He is. He is the ultimate hero.
Right.
We may have just given away the ending to the show. But all of the heroes of faith that we have really do have some character flaws, some chinks in the armor. I think that God does that because God is a God of love and grace and mercy and integrity, though, for us, because it reminds me that we don't have to be perfect.
Right.
So when I look at heroes of faith in the Bible, I think of David's mighty men. These guys did not get a whole lot of press in Scripture, but these guys had to be they had to be incredible.
Right.
And they're just warriors.
Yeah.
And David had these guys, and they were incredibly loyal, and they would go to the wall for this guy.
And he was flawed.
Oh, tragically flawed.
Tragically flawed.
And I think of guys that are just like goat farmers like Shamgar.
Yeah.
Who all he has to fight with is his goat punch and poop stick. And that was his weapon, right? But the Bible talks about that. Paul. Samson, man,
God's super strong man of faith,
Yeah.
and man, he had a lot of flaws.
Well, and the lesson in that is don't get a haircut.
Yeah.
Haircuts always get you in trouble, so don't get a haircut. But it's they are flawed, they are not perfect, and yet God steps in and He uses all of them because they have the qualities that we were just talking about. Though there's the faith, the courage, the perseverance. There's the willingness to sacrifice. I think all of that matters, and I think that sometimes that gets lost in the world that we live in today. We are a world that is in need of heroes, and I've contended that for a long time.
Oh yeah, we need heroes.
Yeah, and I'm not always sure that as the media creates heroes, those aren't necessarily the ones we need. We need to be able to access, see, and understand what people are doing and see the heroism that's there. Because, I mean, it's around us every day, but it's important. So let's come back to the faith element again. How, I mean, and this is a question that I didn't tell you I was going to ask you, but how does faith in God equate then to a heroic life? Oh, pastor.
Well, you know, I'm glad that we call our show The Clash, and we are we're faith-based, and so, our heroes they're always going to have that element of faith, and I think that's what sets us apart from the other heroes of the world that get lost. We have something that kind of builds the foundation for heroism, and that is a strong faith. Yeah.
See, I mean, to be heroic, there has to be a reason. There has to be a cause.
Right.
There's got to be something. Now as storytellers, we understand that the heroes that we write about that are fictional, or the heroes that we like in the world of fiction, that they have a cause, they have a backstory.
Right.
And I think that one of the things that for followers, for our listeners who are hearing us, watching us, and thinking about it, the suggestion I want to leave before we go to the next break is that if you're going to be heroic and you're going to have a heroic lifestyle, you've got to understand what your backstory is. And it's only when you become a follower of Jesus do you have a backstory that will give you the heroic life that you were created to live.
I couldn't have said it better.
Well, that's why I said it. I wanted to make sure we got it in. And we're going to come back, though, in just a second, right after this break. Hey, it's me again, and I just wanted to take a moment and invite you to check something out. It doesn't cost you a dime, but I think that it's something you might really enjoy. The Church at 434, where I'm the pastor, where Chris Whaley is on staff, we have an app, and that app is absolutely free. You can find it by going to the App Store for iPhones. Just type in the Church at 434, or go to Google Play for Android phones. Again, the Church at 434. And when you get there, you're going to find a number of resources that are designed just for you to encourage you in your spiritual growth, in your walk with Christ. There's going to be some things that will entertain you, that you'll laugh at, that will be fun. And you can also tap in and watch our worship services. You can see some of the films that we've made. You can see some of the activities that we've got. And you can connect to the ministry of the Church of 434, where Chris and I are a part of that on a weekly basis. And we would love for you to join us and become a part of that network with us. And so check out the Church at 434 app in the App Store or in Google Play, and you can visit with us there. Also, you can email us right through that app, and we'd love to hear from you. Just say, hey, I got the app, and I like it. If you get the app and you don't like it, we don't want to hear from you. But that's a whole different thing. Let's get back to the Clash. Welcome back for this segment of the Heroes episode. Just before the break, we talked about the fact how important it is that as a faith basis gives our heroes a reason for living, for doing what they do. But I want to come back to another thought that we started with too. Just because you have that basis, just because you have that faith base, doesn't mean you're going to be perfect. No. I mean, Chris, I don't know, as you think back over your life, over the heroes you've known and heroes you have, I mean, I think it's safe to say that our heroes have never been perfect, right? I mean, when I say, who is your hero? Yeah. Who pops in your head first?
Well, two of them.
Okay.
One of them, when I was growing up, I grew up in a fairly dysfunctional home. My dad was a long-distance truck driver. He was gone sometimes for a month at a time. My mom, bless her heart, was trying to do everything, and she didn't have a lot of time. But I met this little lady when I was a boy by the name of Miss Edna. Matter of fact, she's the hero of my book.
Yeah, she is.
And every day, I got home from school, took the school clothes off, put a pair of shorts on, and headed out the door. And she lived down the street from me. And I would go to her house every day, really, every day. We didn't have air conditioning, so she and her husband, Edgar, would sit out on the carport. And you always got a nice breeze there. And they'd have another chair. And I learned wisdom from that woman every day. She'd talk about how things go in school today. And I'd tell her, and she'd say, well, what'd you do about it? And then she'd give me advice on it, I mean, I always knew where I could get wisdom from. And that was from her. And she was my big hero as a kid.
Sure.
And I mean, I still have things that I do as an automatic reaction to things that I learned from her.
Wow.
And my other one was Dr. Jess Moody. He's the guy that led me to the Lord, the guy that started Palm Beach Atlantic University, former pastor at First Baptist West Palm. As a college student sitting in the cafeteria, which our cafeteria was actually the fellowship hall of First Baptist West Palm at that time. And you'd be eating breakfast at 7 o'clock and Dr. Moody would pull up. He'd get there an hour early because it took him an hour to get to his office. I mean, the minute his car pulled in, kids started lining up. And he always made you feel like, you were the most special person in the world. Sure. And he taught me so much. I mean, I learned so much under his tutelage. And, he's the guy that ordained me into the ministry. And just like with Miss Edna, every day there are those things that I put into action that I learned from him. Sure. Those are my two big ones. How about you?
Jesus.
Mm-hmm. I got one more, but
hero.
after yours.
Jesus is my hero.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that just to make me feel like a piece of.
Your heroes are good, but mine's Jesus.
Yeah.
No, I actually have got a couple as well.
Of course, he's my hero too.
I know that.
Yeah.
I was just ripping on you. Yeah. I think first of all, my father was definitely my hero growing up. I mean, he taught me what a man should do, what a man should be. I always looked up to him, a lot of respect for him, and again, watched him. The older I got, I think the more my respect for him continued to grow too. Because again, he was a Kentucky boy. He was a baby of 14 kids that lived.
Wow.
Grew up on a farm. Went to the Air Force. Good athlete, but but made his way to Central Florida and learned what in the Air Force and here in Central Florida. A skill set that really wasn't in his sweet spot. I mean, he ended up was a manager of the data processing department for the city of Orlando, and so had to move in that political realm and survive mayors and stuff like that, and had to lead people and teams and stuff. But he wasn't a computer guy. But yet he ran data processing for one of the largest cities in Florida, and so just a lot of just skill set. But above that, he just modeled. A consistency and a willingness to, kind of coach me up. I mean, and he knew how to push me and make me better.
Yeah.
And he also knew, when to leave me alone and kind of give me room to figure it out for myself, which I think sometimes parents don't do very well today. It's okay to let your kids figure it out and solve it sometimes. And he was always willing to do that. My mom was as well, but my dad definitely. Probably ranks as my all-time hero. Right. And then I've got other ones, but the one that pops into my head now was a hero in the faith of some ways. When I was a middle school boy or junior high boy back in the day, we had a pastor that came to our church, and I think the reason he's heroic is because, I ended up being a pastor, but he He was the guy that stepped into my life at the right time that let me see the need and the importance of someone who was willing to battle in the church arena. And you could be tough, and you could be cool, and you could be funny, and you could be larger than life. And his name was Ken Smith. And a lot of folks who know me know Ken because through the years, he's been a mentor to me, but also been here to preach and teach and stuff at the church that I pastored. But Ken, through the years, has modeled for me just a quality to the craft of preaching and being a pastor. I learned a lot. And learned a lot from him, and watched from a distance, and had the luxury of just through the years never losing that connection. Because even when he left the church we were at, one of the last acts that he did as he left that church is he made sure that I was on the pulpit committee as a teenager that was going to call the next pastor to that church. And he made that something that they needed to do. They needed somebody from that youth department, that youth representation. And I'm a little punk kid, learning how to do church. And so for Ken, he just taught me a lot about what I would eventually do one day and flesh out to this day. And, as I've told him many times too, if he ever preached a good sermon, I stole it. And tried to make it better. So for me, outside of Jesus, those would be my two heroes.
So don't forget to call it research.
Yes, research. Yeah, I call it research. I call it research.
Well, I got to tell you, Jeff. I got to tell you one more.
Okay.
You're one of my heroes.
Oh man! Now see, now you'll make me feel bad because I was ripping on about the Jesus thing.
You're one of my heroes, man. I tell you, I've been a pastor almost 40 years, and I've known you for about 25 of those years. And in those 25 years, I just have always been overwhelmed by, how God has used you, your faithfulness, and just a lot of qualities in you that I really, really wish I had in me that I don't. Man. But you're one of my heroes.
Well, you are very kind. Let me see now. Put me on the spot here because again, I was gonna throw your name out there, but I thought, because it it makes the show all about us. But I am though, and when you say that, I do appreciate that. But I am who I am, just like you are, by the way, because of the people who have poured their life into us. And I think even when you mentioned your heroes, you said, I think for a hero to be a hero, the one flaw in like Batman, right, is that Batman really is that lone, all by himself, really tries to do it on his own, and as they kind of created that character, that always kind of gets him into trouble. There's no one has his back. There's nobody in that journey with him. I think for you, for me, as we look at life, anything we do that's heroic really does happen because of the people who really do share their life, and you've done that for me. I try to do that for you. We try to we bring to the mix all those people that have done that because that's so important in living that heroic lifestyle. So, heroes, we need them. But we've got to take a break because, we got stuff to sell. Yeah. And so, if you wouldn't mind, we're going to go to this break and we're going to come back and we're going to wrap this episode up.
Okay.
Hi. Thanks for not leaving during the break because, I'm obviously trying to get you to buy something. I really am. If you're anything like me, middle of summer, sometimes it gets really hot. We film here in Florida. It's hot all the time. And every once in a while, you'd like to take a little bit of a break. Get a little Christmas spirit going in your life. If so, I have a suggestion for you. I have written a novella based upon the characters that show up in my novels. It's called Then Christmas Happens. It's available in the exclusive paperback edition, the collectible hardback edition, or if you're lazy like I am and you want someone to read to you, you can also get this book on Audible in about an hour and 10, 15 minutes. Hear it, read it, and get a little Christmas magic happening in your life. To get it, you have to go to Amazon, look up My Name, Jeff Dixon, and then let Christmas happen in your life. Welcome back. We're still talking about heroes. Chris, during our break, we were talking a little bit about heroes and who is it that we need to be heroes to? Let's give advice. Let's start giving a little bit of practical advice here.
Well, I think as a parent, you've got to be a hero to your kids. And
that's hard to do, by the way.
Yeah,
sometimes. That's hard to do sometimes.
Yeah, it is. Well, you know, when my kids were at home, we used to do our devotions in the evening. And very often, Jeff, I had to tell them, I say, hey, Daddy's preaching on this subject on Sunday, and I just want you to know, the one person that needs it more than anybody in that building on Sunday is me.
Yeah.
And because I fall so short, and I just want you to know that sometimes, you know, Dad feels like a hypocrite when he gets up there and preaches because, you know, I fall short in so many areas and all. And I've had my girls come back to me and tell me, you know, they always appreciated the fact that, you know, I wasn't a hypocrite.
Right. Well, integrity, right? We talked about that earlier.
You got to have integrity.
Yeah.
And I wrote this down too. I like, you know, when heroes do their thing, it can make waves that reach far and wide, lifting others, pushing them to be their best selves. And then listen, one act of courage can spark that same fire in someone else, like a kid who learns to always tell the truth from watching their honest mom or dad, or a whole bunch of people coming together for a good cause after seeing one person's dedication. A hero's power to inspire creates a story that lives on way past their own actions. Yeah.
Well, I think it is safe to say we live in a world and a generation where we are desperately in need of heroes.
Right.
And so for you, as a listener, as you've listened to us talk and just share about heroes, who they are, what they are, some of our heroes, I mean, I want to encourage you, and I know Chris does as well, that you can be that hero in the life of someone else. I mean, we'll come back to what we kind of talked about in the very first segment, though. Faith is certainly the building block.
Yeah, but you're not trying to be a hero if you just have those qualities of selflessness and sacrificial and courage and bravery and things. You know, you do those things, and it'll be the other people who will see you as a hero, not you trying to be a hero, but they'll see you as a hero.
Yeah, and I think for a true hero, isn't that the way it is? They don't think of themselves as heroes. They're just doing what they were created to do or called to do.
There you go.
And so at the end of the day, there could be a call in your life. There is a call in your life to live a heroic life in a world that needs heroes.
Right.
It begins with faith in Jesus. Allow that to become your foundation. Grow deeper roots in Him. Become who it is that you were created to be.
Right.
And as you do, then your life becomes very much about other people.
Always.
Not yourself.
Right.
And that's kind of what heroes, that's what makes a hero, right? I mean, it's always doing something for someone else.
That's exactly right.
And so if we can learn that, then we are destined to be the heroes for this generation.
Right.
And so I guess that's where we want to leave this one. We want you to live heroic lives. Hopefully this has sparked something in your brain. I want to ask you a question. Who are you going to be a hero to this week? Because you will be, if you choose to be. And so don't be afraid to be that hero. Chris, anything you need to tell us before we get out of here?
Well, in your heroic journey of faith, don't tap out.